Alexander Gustafsson, he got hit with the right hand, but it was on the right eye, split his eye open. At the end of the 4th round, the doctor came in and he looked at me and he says, you know, I don't like the way his eyes look. I think we should stop the fight. He was the champion. He had been fighting with that eye for the entire fight. I looked at him and I said, Doc, he just won that last round. I don't think we need to stop this fight.
Jon Jones was busted up and kept moving forward, pleaded with the doctor not to stop it in the 5th.
So check this out. If Herb Dean hadn't been working that fight, Jon Jones would have lost his championship belt right there. Yeah, you heard that correctly. And this isn't some random fan theory or clickbait nonsense floating around online. This is straight from Herb Dean himself, the referee who was actually inside that octagon, watching everything unfold during what became one of the most vicious championship battles in UFC history.
On pure heart, I believe that this is one of those fights where both guys felt like they were going to die. I don't know if I can continue. I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Tell you what, we're going to let the fight go on. And if I see that cut change at all, I'll stop the fight. For myself, I'm thinking I am never stopping this fight. So that's how much I hated Jon. Basically put my butt on the line because it was the right thing to do.
The 4th and 5th round, I pulled from something that I didn't know I had inside of me.
Herb Dean, this legendary official, is basically confirming that Bones Jones, the fighter so many consider the pound-for-pound greatest ever, was literally moments away from a devastating loss that could have completely altered his career trajectory. But here's what makes this revelation absolutely insane. It was Herb Dean's split-second judgment call, his personal decision in that critical moment, that saved Jones from what would have been a catastrophic defeat.
I saw 3 Jones out there.
Gustafsson is hurt, and he looks for the spin again. Gustafsson's busted up now. Final seconds of the round. Flying knee.
Forever, now I do know what I'm like when things get tough.
Gustafsson looks to take Jones out. Nice uppercuts. Those punches are busting up the mouth of Jon Jones. Nice elbows. Head kick. Big head kick. Gustafsson just put his hands on his hips like he was exhausted. Another head kick. Both of these guys are pushed to their limit in this fight. Spin it.
We're going beyond everything you think you know about this fight. We're breaking down the brutal UFC 165 war with Alexander Gustafsson, the bout that pushed Jones to his breaking point. We'll examine every questionable call the referee made, analyze the instant decisions that shifted history, and reveal the hidden story of how Jon Jones was genuinely rescued from what should have been a crushing loss. Was it controversial? Without a doubt. But the real question is whether this single night actually shaped Jones's entire fighting legacy. Stay tuned, because what happened in there will blow your mind.
Gonna go the distance. Flying knee by Jones. Wow. That might be the greatest title fight in the history of the light heavyweight division. Chill.
His victory against Gustafsson solidifies the Jones family as one of the most prolific in American sports history. The same year, his older brother Arthur wins the Super Bowl, while his younger brother, Chandler.
Right here, we're looking at the exact critical moment Herb Dean remembers when he thinks back to that insane night. Imagine this scene unfolding. Jon Jones, this champion known globally for making elite fighters look amateur, is now seriously hurt, blood pouring from his face with a gash so dangerous that the cageside physician is literally preparing to stop the fight immediately.
My record was 5-35. I got my butt whooped. I was never the strongest, never the fastest, never had the best physique.
I thought, though, they called you Bones because you broke people's bones, but apparently they said it's because your brothers used to call you Skin and Bones?
Yeah, I was so skinny. My wrestling coach gave me the nickname of Bones, yeah.
No, it's just always been a great competition growing up to be the best. And
everything was a competition. You know, we were running around the house. Who could open the refrigerator the fastest? Who could drink the most milk?
But they'd be so mad. They come home, there's holes in the walls.
Furniture broken.
Consider the enormous pressure weighing on everyone involved. This moment reveals not only the pure savagery of this war, which was absolutely brutal, but also demonstrates Jones's incredible heart, his almost reckless determination when he begged the medical team to allow him to keep fighting. Herb Dean's recollection confirms just how dire this situation really became. Jones was genuinely teetering on disaster, balanced right on the precipice of losing his championship through medical stoppage.
So we would butt heads a lot. He was a guy who was so passionate about us succeeding in sports to the point where he made wrestling this competition for us, where he would give us $6 if we got a pin, $2 if we won, in the finals.
My mom was really the bully of the family. That's where John get it from.
She's the strong one of the household. I think she wears the pants.
Yeah. My mom always taught us one fight, we all fight. So we jumped a lot of people growing up.
This wasn't some tiny nick that just needed petroleum jelly slapped on it. We're dealing with potentially fight-ending damage, the type of injury that absolutely required official intervention and thorough medical examination. This makes Herb Dean's choice to let the action continue even more significant, debatable, and honestly remarkable when you consider everything on the line in that moment.
My life wasn't always great, man. Being molested as a child, losing a parent and a sibling to disease at a young age. It goes on and on. I got things I need to deal with.
You and your family have dealt with some pretty real stuff, including the loss of your sister.
I had a sister who passed away when she was 18 years old. She had brain cancer. You know, to see a girl who kind of seemed flawless to me at the time, you know, she was only 18 when she died, and she was a part of the church, she was a part of our choir, she was on the high school basketball team.
There's serious tension radiating from the champion's corner, and you can sense it throughout the entire arena. This footage is genuinely disturbing when you fully grasp what's being revealed. Herb Dean, among the most respected officials in all of combat sports, directly admits his personal negative feelings toward Jon Jones, the individual.
Right.
But then you gotta
pick and choose, right? What you want to listen to. You know, I wear this tattoo on my chest, Philippians 4:13, that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I genuinely believe that I can do anything. Coming out of high school, I started drinking in high school, and I always felt like I needed alcohol to be cool or to conquer anxiety. Well, I was kind of more reserved, you know, trying to figure out who I was going to be as a person and where my place was in this world. During the lunch breaks, I didn't really have a huge group of friends, so I would find myself standing there talking to the security officer, and I just became infatuated with the job that he had. You know, I thought it was awesome. And I thought to myself, you know, these people are stand-up individuals, you know, people look up to them, they're helping others, they're being macho.
Process that for a moment. Despite these personal opinions, regardless of whatever backstory or judgments he carried about Jones away from competition, he deliberately chose not to wave off the contest. Even more remarkably, he overruled the doctor's initial recommendation to call it finished. His internal thought process that he shares, where he declares he's never stopping this fight, exposes the remarkable integrity, or maybe you'd call it determination, or perhaps just unwavering professional duty that was necessary in that incredibly pressurized moment with the world watching.
Suddenly, I'm a dropout. A few months after I was done with school, you know, I was a bouncer for a while. I was looking for some jobs and some opportunities, and I'm working at a bar, and I was applying to be a janitor because I would have benefits. I'm telling people that I want to be a UFC fighter. You know, it was kind of embarrassing in some ways. I'm running into all these kids my age. John, you know, I thought you were in college. It's like, oh, well, actually, you know, I thought I'd try the fighting thing. You're gonna be a what? A cage fighter? I'm like, yeah, you know, the UFC thing. And they're like, oh, well, cool. You know, I'm in my last year and my accounting degree or my business major. I literally got on all these TED Talks and on YouTube, and I just started YouTubing.
He literally risked everything for Jones, jeopardized his own reputation and livelihood, despite their personal friction and his opinions about the man, because he genuinely believed it was correct for the sport and for giving the fighter his chance to continue. This represents absolute proof that the referee legitimately rescued Jones from what would have been a technical knockout defeat, a stoppage that would have made history. By permitting the battle to continue, he created the opportunity for Jones to battle through this crisis, demonstrate his warrior spirit, and ultimately establish his legacy as one of the most legendary fighters ever.
Videos about self-belief and what does it mean to be confident? What does it mean to be a winner? I made sure that all those kids that I was looking in the eyes, telling them that I wanted to be a UFC fighter, and the ones that doubted me or looked at me funny, I made sure that I would prove them wrong one day. And I would watch hours and hours of Tony Robbins and Les Brown, and I'm reading a book called Relentless right now. It talks about being a cleaner.
I read that book like 3 years ago, so
It's a good book.
it's a good book.
It's a great book.
It might have helped me get here, to be honest.
You know, I'm reading it right now on this training camp leading into beating your ass.
If the doctor's assessment and Herb Dean's story seemed intense and deeply troubling, just absorb the raw energy captured in this live broadcast audio. The announce team, these veteran professionals who've witnessed countless battles, painting the scene with descriptions like both fighters completely battered, discussing how these warriors are pushed beyond their breaking points, totally exhausted and damaged.
Think Michael Jordan, the ultimate cleaner. Michael never cared about achieving mere greatness. He cared about being the best ever. Larry Bird is a cleaner. Kobe, Dwayne, cleaners. Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, Charles Barkley. In the business world, we're talking about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Most presidents are cleaner. And good luck getting re-elected if you're not. Stardom doesn't make you a cleaner. Winning does. And not just winning once. You have to be able to do it again and again.
It creates this graphic, almost disturbing image of the absolute hell these two elite competitors endured inside that cage. The sound of those devastating elbows connecting, the impact of those head kicks landing, and watching Gustafsson's total depletion, his body language screaming that he's operating on fumes. It all emphasizes just how close Jones came to being physically finished, how near he was to his body completely shutting down. The referee's choice in this situation wasn't about protecting a fighter from some superficial wound or a minor laceration that appeared worse than reality. This was about allowing a severely damaged fighter, a champion who was badly injured and drained, to keep competing in what became one of the most punishing, grinding wars in UFC history. That's what we're really discussing here. Following everything we just witnessed, all the documentation of the doctor's near intervention, the referee's extremely debatable decision that fans still argue about, and those savage exchanges that had everyone glued to their seats, this footage celebrates the final result of it all. This was a contest that actually lasted the complete 25 minutes of championship warfare, and it's now properly recognized as one of the greatest title fights in promotional history, a genuine masterpiece that introduces new fans to the sport. The reference to Jones's family here also emphasizes the remarkable athletic DNA he inherited, pointing to this ingrained competitive fire that flows through his genetics, this natural inclination toward excellence in combat sports. This battle wasn't simply another victory for his record book. It was genuine proof of toughness, psychological strength, and refusing to surrender even when your body is demanding you stop. Most importantly, it was a defining moment in cementing the entire Jones family's athletic legacy, their position in combat sports lore, all enabled by that vital instant decision Herb Dean made in the 4th round when everything was uncertain. This incredible glimpse into the actual development of Jon Jones reveals the foundation story of how champions are constructed from nothing. Pay attention to this revelation. The fighter who eventually became arguably the most unstoppable UFC champion in his weight class, the guy who made world-class opponents appear helpless, began his wrestling journey with a 5-35 record. Let me emphasize that again. 5 victories and 35 defeats. This demonstrates beyond question that he wasn't born naturally talented in every fighting discipline, that he wasn't some phenomenon who dominated everything immediately. This comeback narrative, this tale of rising from rock bottom, combined with the fierce sibling competition he experienced growing up and the intense but loving warfare that occurred at home with his brothers, reveals exactly where his unstoppable drive and exceptional durability were created and strengthened. It shows this vivid portrait of someone who discovered how to battle and scrape for everything he achieved, who had to earn each victory through dedication and persistence. That approach, that philosophy of never surrendering regardless of circumstances, definitely contributed massively to his capacity to endure against Gustafsson when the situation became desperate, when any other competitor with average mentality might have simply accepted the doctor's intervention. This section provides even more incredible background to Jones's childhood and helps explain the source of his fighting heart, where that internal fire truly originated. His father's demanding coaching approach, which sounds extremely hardcore and rigorous, and his mother's inspiring belief of one fight we all fight, obviously created this intense competitive and protective instinct in all the Jones brothers from childhood. This wasn't simply about building athletic ability or mastering techniques. This was about establishing a family environment that encouraged and developed a genuine never-quit mentality, an attitude where surrender simply wasn't acceptable. Grasping this foundation, truly understanding Jones's origins and upbringing, makes it much clearer why Jon Jones, even while standing there with a bleeding eye wound and a body completely drained of energy, would absolutely refuse to allow a physician to end his fight. He was literally trained from youth to battle through hardship, to push beyond pain and barriers, a philosophy that referee Herb Dean, whether consciously or unconsciously in that instant, ultimately acknowledged and respected by permitting the contest to proceed. Beyond the physical conditioning and competitive childhood that molded him athletically, this segment exposes something far deeper, the devastating personal loss that influenced Jon Jones as a person and shaped his entire outlook. Losing a sister to brain cancer so young, especially someone who represented perfection in his mind and was taken far too early, is an unbearable weight for anyone, particularly a child. His profound grief and direct familiarity with loss, with knowing that life is precious and can disappear instantly, certainly adds to his mental strength and his distinct viewpoint when he enters that cage. It's a powerful reminder that fighters are much more than their performance statistics, their records, or their highlight knockouts. There's a complete human being with experiences and pain behind that image, and it provides another significant dimension for understanding why Jones would genuinely prefer to risk everything rather than surrender when circumstances become difficult. In this section, Jones directly links his spirituality to his personal demons, showing genuine vulnerability about his struggles with alcohol-driven anxiety that he's battled throughout his life. This reveals a profoundly faithful aspect of the man that strengthens him during his lowest points. The Philippians 4:13 tattoo on his body, which states, "I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength," isn't just some motivational slogan or random scripture he thought sounded impressive. It's a core belief system, an essential part of who he is that drives his resilience when everything appears hopeless. His childhood fascination with the confident and authoritative nature of security personnel he observed also demonstrates his natural attraction to strength and purpose, his desire to be someone who dominates and protects. This blend of faith and hunger for strength certainly played a crucial role in his unbreakable resolve against Gustafsson, providing him the spiritual and psychological tools to exceed what most would consider human limitations, to tap into reserves of determination that few people have. This represents the classic underdog chapter of Jon Jones's journey, the part that seems almost impossible to believe. From dropping out of college with zero direction to hoping to work as a janitor just to survive, facing the criticism and skepticism of his friends who were taking conventional routes, Jones's path to greatness was far from straightforward or expected. The humiliation he experienced, the genuine embarrassment of admitting to his friends that he wanted to become a cage fighter while they were all earning traditional degrees and pursuing normal jobs, demonstrates his special vision and the faith he maintained in himself when everyone else doubted. This time of uncertainty, confusion, and making unusual decisions that people criticized must have strengthened his determination like iron, making him incredibly motivated to prove everyone wrong, to demonstrate to all the skeptics that he chose correctly. It connects directly to his readiness to endure absolute punishment in the Octagon, to withstand incredible suffering, knowing that he'd already survived harder tests and more painful experiences in his personal journey. This footage perfectly captures the intense mental preparation, the psychological conditioning that Jon Jones intentionally underwent to remake himself into a champion, not just physically but mentally. He deliberately pursued wisdom about self-confidence, belief, and what it actually means to be a winner at elite levels. This wasn't only about physical preparation and training, practicing techniques, and developing endurance. This was conscious, purposeful rewiring of his thoughts, restructuring his mind to think like a champion. His goal to silence all the critics, inspired by motivational leaders like Tony Robbins and influential books like Relentless by Tim Grover, shows an unbreakable self-belief that seems almost crazy but is actually required for true greatness. This mental conditioning he imposed on himself before ever entering the cage explains exactly why he refused to let a cut or exhausted body defeat him against Gustafsson. His brain had been programmed to ignore his body's commands to quit. This powerful final message embodies the cleaner philosophy, that championship mindset that Jon Jones represents completely. It's not about winning occasionally or performing well temporarily. It's about the constant, relentless chase of absolute excellence, continuously breaking barriers and proving it repeatedly like legends Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant accomplished in basketball. Jones's goal isn't simple greatness or being remembered as a decent fighter. It's complete domination, being so superior that there's zero question about who's the best. The referee's disputed decision to allow the Gustafsson battle to continue didn't just preserve a title defense or maintain a winning record. It enabled a cleaner, a genuine champion to reveal his true character, his essential identity, which is to endure impossible pain and achieve a victory that confirmed his position among the greatest in combat sports history, permanently.